A few months ago, I woke up and I suddenly got it. I understood suddenly how thought was just an illusory thing, and how thought is responsible for, if not all, most of the suffering we experience. And then I suddenly felt like I was looking at these thoughts from another perspective, and I wondered, who is it that's aware that I'm thinking? And suddenly I was thrown into this expansive, amazing feeling of freedom from myself, from my problems. I saw that I was bigger than what I do. I was bigger than my body. I was everything and everyone. I was no longer a fragment of the universe. I was the universe. And ever since that day, I've been trying to get back there. It comes and it goes. It's like riding a wave. Sometimes I'm on, sometimes I'm off. But at least I know where I want to go. And that I want to take as many people with me as I possibly can, because the feeling is amazing. Don't get me wrong, Jim Carrey is a great character, and I was lucky to get the part. But I don't think of that as me anymore.
You don't? Not at all?
Not really, no. I used to be a guy who was experiencing the world, and now I feel like the world and the universe experiencing a guy. I am two-time Golden Globe winner Jim Carrey. When I go to sleep at night, I'm not just a guy going to sleep. I'm two-time Golden Globe winner Jim Carrey going to get some well-needed shut-eye. And when I dream, I don't just dream any old dream. I dream about being three-time Golden Globe winning actor Jim Carrey, because then I would be enough. It would finally be true, and I could stop this terrible search for what I know ultimately won't fulfill me. These are important, these awards. I don't want you to think that just because if you blew up our solar system alone, you wouldn't be able to find us or any of human history with the naked eye. But from our perspective, this is huge. I had an odd childhood. We had some tough times.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
When my father lost his job, I was pissed. It was like
Sad.
one of those things. My dad, how dare the universe? Well, the thing was, he wasn't happy. He would come home and just, that damn guy, man, I tell you, one of these days, I'm gonna,
Right.
So I don't know what happened. Who knows? Maybe he was miserable there.
All you know is you ended up living in a car.
Exactly. Well, I ended up, yeah, sure. And like trying to be the adult and trying to take care of everything. But my dad was cool, man. My dad, you go, that's the one thing about therapy. They kind of focus you on what did your parents do? What did they not do?
Right.
What did they not give you and all that? And yeah, sure. In certain ways they made me grow up fast.
Right.
But, the list of what they did for me was so enormous. You always want to do well, you know, you want to stay in the business, but I'm constantly just coming up with ideas and throwing them in. So honestly, I wake up every day and I open my eyes and I go, I'm doing this amazing thing for a living. It sounds ridiculous, but I'm constantly pinching myself and going I can't believe this.
People talk about depression all the time. The difference between depression and sadness is just, from happenstance. Whatever happened or didn't happen for you, or, grief or whatever it is. And depression is your body saying, I don't want to be this character anymore. I don't want to hold up this avatar that you've created in the world. It's too much for me.
Right.
And so a friend of mine who's a spiritual teacher has a really good take. His take on it is that they should change, you should think of the word as depressed as deep rest. Deep rest. Your body needs to be depressed. It needs deep rest from the character that you've been trying to play.
Right.
And ultimately, I believe that suffering leads to salvation. And in fact, it's the only way. That we have to somehow accept and not deny, but feel our suffering and feel our losses. And then we make one of two decisions. We either decide to go through the gate of resentment, which leads to vengeance, which leads to self-harm, which leads to harm to others, or we go through the gate of forgiveness, which leads to grace. Being here is an indication that you've made that decision. You've made the decision to walk through the gate of forgiveness to grace, just as Christ did. Cross. He suffered terribly, and he was broken by it to the point of doubt and a feeling of absolute abandonment. And then there was a decision to be made. And the decision was to look upon the people who were causing that suffering, or the situation that was causing that suffering, with compassion and with forgiveness. And that's what opens the gates of heaven for us. So I wish that for all of you. I wish that for myself. I know that, no matter what I've suffered, most of you have suffered worse than that. But that's why I admire you, because you're here. You will have grace, because this decision has been made.
I've always wondered about certain things, certain ideas surrounding Jesus. One of which was like a puzzlement to me since I was a little kid, and that was when they say Jesus freed the world from sin. So what happened eventually was I was in a moment of despair, no doubt, questioning everything. I do that from time to time, kind of get a little tumultuous in my head and have a little war, have little adversaries that fight it out. One day it occurred to me that the adversaries in my head were the only thing keeping me from peace. And I started to let them go one by one. I consciously, as they entered my head, went, is this real? Do I even know this person? Sometimes you don't. You don't know your adversaries. You've never met them. You create these wars. And I started to let them go, and I suddenly realized what that statement meant, at least what it means for me, is that he freed the world from sin from his perspective. It's up to each one of us to free the world from sin from our point of view. And with that comes freedom. You got to keep doing it because they keep entering. But that was a really wonderful kind of transcendent moment for me. I mean, I don't want to be presumptuous, but the meaning of life, you want to know what it is? Love yourself. That's what I think it is. Just love yourself. And be visible, no matter what the risk. Be honest.
That peace that we're after lies somewhere beyond personality, beyond the perception of others, beyond invention and disguise, even beyond effort itself. You can join the game, fight the wars, play with form all you want, but to find real peace, you have to let the armor go. Your need for acceptance can make you invisible in this world. Don't let anything stand in the way of the light that shines through this form. Risk being seen in all of your glory. Painting is one of the ways I free myself from concern, a way to stop the world through total mental, spiritual, and physical involvement. But even with that comes a feeling of divine dissatisfaction, because ultimately, we're not the avatars we create. We're not the pictures on the film stock. We are the light that shines through. All else is just smoke and mirrors, distracting, but not truly compelling. I've often said that I wished people could realize all their dreams and wealth and fame, and so that they could see that it's not where you're going to find your sense of completion. Like many of you, I was concerned about going out into the world and doing something bigger than myself. Until someone smarter than myself made me realize that there is nothing bigger than myself. This is the voice of the ego. And if you listen to it, there will always be someone who's doing better than you. No matter what you gain, ego will not let you. It will tell you that you cannot stop until you've left an indelible mark on the earth, until you've achieved immortality. How tricky is this ego that it would tempt us with the promise of something we already possess? Your job is not to figure out how it's going to happen for you, but to open the door in your head. And when the door opens in real life, just walk through it. And don't worry if you miss your cue, because there's always doors opening. They keep opening. And when I say life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, I really don't know if that's true. I'm just making a conscious choice to perceive challenges as something beneficial so that I can deal with them in the most productive way. You'll come up with your own style. That's part of the fun. Take a chance on faith. Not religion, but faith. Not hope, but faith. I don't believe in hope. Hope is a beggar. Hope walks through the fire and faith leaps over it.